I want to just cut across to what the Prime Minister said. The Prime Minister has been in Bhutan. He spoke from Thimphu, where he is in official capacity, attending the birthday celebrations of the fourth king of Bhutan. And he made it clear that any act of terror, or those the perpetrators behind this, of course he didn't use the word terror, but the perpetrators of what has happened will be brought to justice. Listen into what the Prime Minister said.
आज मैं यहाँ बहुत भारी मन से आया हूँ। कल शाम दिल्ली में हुई भयावह घटना ने सभी के मन को व्यथित कर दिया है। मैं पीड़ित परिवारों का दुख समझता हूँ। आज पूरा देश उनके साथ खड़ा है। मैं कल रात भर इस घटना की जांच में जुटी सभी एजेंसियों के साथ, सभी महत्वपूर्ण लोगों के साथ संपर्क में था, विचार विमर्श चलता था, जानकारियों के तार जोड़े जा रहे थे। हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
Especially the usage of English of all those responsible will be brought to justice for the international community that has been fairly involved ever since Operation Sindoor. I want to cut across to Dr. Brahmachalani. Dr. Brahmachalani, if you tie in all the loose ends, if you connect all the dots, it's rather clear that the footprint of Jaish-e-Mohammed is evident. The sheer fact that the Prime Minister last time when he said that Operation Sindoor is an ongoing operation, not just proverbially, but drew that line in the sand, saying that any act of terror is an act of war, and from here on, terrorists will not be differentiated from state actors, does put India now in a spot on how India will react and respond.
Let's look at the larger implications of this car explosion. And I think the Prime Minister's words clearly allude to the larger implications of this blast in Delhi. As you know that India is located in a very troubled neighborhood, but India remains a beacon of stability, of democratic vitality and economic dynamism. It's the only country in South Asia that is stable and economically booming. This is a testament to its strong institutions. So when there's a car explosion in Delhi, it attracts wide international media coverage. I got calls from Australia and from Europe this morning as to what's happening in India, because it makes some people wonder whether India is really that stable. That is why Pakistan's ISI staged the horrific Mumbai attacks in 2008, because Mumbai is the economic capital of India. And that is also the reason why terrorists carry out this car explosion, right? Targeting the national capital region of India. Clearly, the busting of this terror module and then the car explosion clearly suggest that the aim was to target the national capital region of India. Because when you have an explosion, a terror attack in Delhi, it attracts wide international attention. And the latest terror attack is a sobering reminder that the front lines of national security lie not just along India's borders with Pakistan, but also within India's cities. So the security agencies need to proactively safeguard major cities. And I think the larger message is that this car explosion is a grim reminder First, that terrorism remains a live threat to India's internal security. And two, that despite Operation Sindoor, the infrastructure of cross-border terrorism remains intact. In fact, it reopens the question as to why we seized Operation Sindoor after just 3 days of operation, when the Indian military had gained the upper hand on the battlefield. The fact is that unless you do not go after the sponsors of terrorism on a continuing basis, they will always look for an opening. And I think even though a bigger terrorist attack has been averted, still, the implications of this car explosion are quite adverse to India's image, to India's security, and to India's need to present itself as a stable, economically booming country.
Right. Dr. Bedi, I want to bring you in on the point that, Dr. Brahmachalani made. And this is a point that is echoed by many. Because what this blast and this suicide mission yesterday, which was carried out, has brought in is reminiscent of what was witnessed very often during the UPA years. One thing that this government could pat its back on repeatedly, and something that the people always supported the government, was on the stability that Dr. Brahmachalani was talking about, a sense of security that this government provided. It's been, I don't remember when a blast like that has shook the heart of our country, which is the national capital. The implication, though, will be that much more grave.
Look, I see a shift in this crime pattern. It's from borders now to inside the country, because border issues has got contained. Defense issues, I think there's a total blockade there. This is an awakening of sleeper cells now within the country. Financing them, arming them, ammunitioning them. And these were the masterminds we caught. You see, nobody from outside has claimed responsibility so far. It's very unusual. Earlier, immediately, they used to claim responsibility. Jaish-e-Mohammed has not claimed any responsibility. We are assuming it. But I think this is clearly a shift from borders to covered cells, which are hiding somewhere. And also now it's not the chappalwala and pajamawala. No, now it is educated, radicalized. So this is a community which I think has now is now being radicalized.
I want to pick that point that you made. Dr. Bedi, I want to just, for a moment, stress and reflect and bring, our panel in on the point that you just made. Because, we might give it a glib word and call it white-collar terror module. But there is a larger implication and connotation to it. No longer are we looking at a set which is, steeped in poverty, uneducated, exploited by the harbingers of terror. This has a huge connotation. Look at it. These are men who've come from fairly affluent families, whose families have worked very hard to put them through MBBS colleges to attain, the kind of academic excellence that they have actually become doctors. These were men and women who could have chosen better than to tread the path of sinister terrorism that they have chosen. And I just want to give the list out. Muhammad Omar, Dr. Muhammad Omar, who was the suicide bomber in this particular case, young man, 1989, doctor at Al Falah Medical College, MBBS from GMC Srinagar. He was behind the wheel of the I-20 that was laden with explosives, detonated right outside the Red Fort metro station behind me. Adil Ahmed, then age 27, from Kazigund, senior resident doctor, GMC Anantnag. AK-47 has been found in his locker, arrested in Saharanpur, Uttar Pradesh, arrested from Anantnag. Muzammil Shakil, doctor at Al Falah University, arrested in Faridabad, Haryana. 2,900 kgs of explosives seized, linked with Adil Rathar, arrested from Pulwama. Shaheen Shahid, woman doctor from Lal Bagh, worked with Al Falah Group. Rifle found in her car. allegedly now she's a doctor, and allegedly now she's heading the women wing in India of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, arrested from Lucknow. Ahmad Mohammuddin Syed, MBBS from China, arrested by Gujarat ATS. The list will go on. One of the doctors, the brother of Shaheen Shahid, Salman Parvez, Dr. Salman Parvez, who practices in Lucknow at the Integrated University, is now absconding. If you put this all together, Dr. Brahmachalani, even just for a moment and reflect on it, no longer are you looking at maybe like a Kasab who was completely illiterate, came in from acute poverty and was used as a tool by the perpetrators of terror. You're looking at well-educated, men and women coming in from affluent families who one would think, pick a better, way of being. And also highlighting the fact, Dr. Brahmachalani, that these sleeper cells now have people like these making decisions, with what we've seen yesterday.
You raised a very good point, Preeti. In fact, if you look at the larger international context and look at the major terror attacks right in India's own neighborhood, they are a reminder that terrorism is not driven either by deprivation or by ignorance. Take the cafe attack on foreigners in Dhaka in 2016, or the subsequent jihadi bombings in Sri Lanka on Easter Sunday. The bombings in Sri Lanka on churchgoers and hotel guests were carried out by men from wealthy families. 2 of the 8 Sri Lankan suicide bombers were sons of one of the country's wealthiest businessmen. Several of the attackers in Sri Lanka had the means to study abroad. In fact, some of them had actually gone abroad and studied it abroad. But I think what's very troubling about the latest car bombing are 2 things. First, the involvement of medical doctors. The alleged suicide bomber in the car that exploded, was a medical doctor. The terror module that was busted earlier involved some medical doctors. Medical doctors are supposed to be saviors of lives. Here, they're turning out to be predators. That is very troubling. The second is the scale of the car explosion. It was so powerful that number of other vehicles caught fire. Look at the number of people who died, the number of people who are battling for life in hospital, and the cache of explosives that was recovered by police, nearly 2,900 kilograms of explosives. That's a military level stockpile. It points to a coordinated plot targeting the national capital region and possibly even beyond. So I think even though we may take comfort in the fact that there was this, that the police managed to bust this terror module, that this suicide bomber, for whatever reason, struck at a red light near the Red Fort and not at a more strategic target, yet the implications of what these people were up to, that cannot be lost. It might suggest that there are other terror modules that are still potentially ready to target other areas of India, maybe even areas within the national capital region.